Alright, here we go. Excuse me. Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner Classic, that's non-classic. That's number 2865 and Doubleshot number 2785. Both these two books is the end of a particular volume. This first one is the last issue to discuss this series. We're here discussing issues 63 to 75 of Aquaman Volume 5. The Dan Jorgens run. I kind of forgot he did this run, so I think it was Eric Larson for the longest. I thought he did the whole remainder of this run. No, he only did like 13 issues and he left. So, in the very first issue, Dolphin gives birth to their baby. And this whole first 8 issues is basically dealing with like Atlantis attack, people are killed. The Dolphin's able to survive no problem, and we see the birth of the son of Tempest and Dolphin, which they'll name this baby into issue 70. So 7 issues after this baby's debut, that's when they finally name it. And you first see the baby after Dolphins give birth, and he's like sitting on the ground with the umbilical cord still there. I would have thought they removed it, but nope, they did not do that. So Aquaman, basically very angry at the fact that people were attacked, so he proceeds to attack Corda. That's the country that attacked them. And like he proceeds to get there, and he's basically starting his attack, and then he's stopped by the JLA. And he points out to the fact that this is a dispute between countries, not between superheroes, after some disagreements. And then, like, this other, he's telling people to stand down, and then we see this mysterious general just hijack Aquaman's communication, just change the image to him, where he tells the soldiers, hey, this is our last one. Go ahead and attack the city anyways. And it's a full-blown attack, and Aquaman's like, I didn't give an order to attack. By the way, the general is revealed to be Ocean Master. You're like, what? Ocean Master? Yeah, this is actually the first time in a while he's been seen. So they basically beat up the soldiers, and they, of course, with Ocean Master and Dolphin. It's a really good epic 8-parter. This is fantastic. Eventually, of course, the leadership is toppled. So then, of course, basically that Aquaman addresses the UN about this incident, that you guys did nothing while basically my people were attacked. So as a swell supporter, he annexes the country, part of Atlantis. He's more upset, but they legally can't do anything at all. So he tells them that basically they're no longer courtesans, they're actually Atlanteans. Oh yeah, and this also is the issue 70 is where they name it. There's also a brief thing where, by the way, basically the courtesan's crib is basically a bowl full of water, and because he's half gill person, he's in on the water. So that's how he sleeps. He sleeps in a bowl of water. Not like a small bowl, but basically it's the shape of a fountain where it's got like covers underneath it too. So that's basically his crib. And Tempest is the Atlantean ambassador to the surface world. So he is named basically like a region for Aquaman. Basically, he said he will take care of them. And that's kind of what some of these issues are. And then the next set of issues, get this. He's on a ship and he runs into, he thinks it's Oliver Queen, but it's Travis Morgan, aka the Warlord, where he gets involved with the whole basically Warlord stuff, which I found this 3-part to be so fun. Yeah, it takes only 3 issues. It's like 71, 73. Yeah, I thought, like, wow, the return of Travis Morgan. Yeah, with the exception of basically, like he very rarely appeared. And then the last couple issues is like, oh, by the way, the hook that the Aquaman's had since like issue 0 when he lost his hand. Yeah, now he's got like a golden hand. Yeah, the hook is gone. It's been replaced with this. This actually was shown in issue 63, and he would keep this up until like when they start volume 6, where it's back to being a hook, and then he takes it off, and then it becomes a water hand. And it's like this throughout the entire series, where it's a water hand. The only way his hand gets restored is when he gets resurrected at being killed. Yeah, when he's resurrected being murdered, then his hand restored perfectly normal. Yeah, after like over 10 years of him not having a left hand. So, by the way, Steve Epstein does the artwork for all these issues, which is fantastic. It's the last couple issues is basically just dealing with the possible death of Tempest, though. Yeah. Though they're able to find him, and then it's kind of a nice two-parter because he's like kidnapped, and they kind of wrap it up pretty quickly with the last couple issues. It's like the best way you can describe Dan Jurgens' run. It's like the first 8 issues is a whole complete story arc. Like you can think 63 is like the start of the story arc, and then 69 is the end of it, but 70 is the conclusion. Then you have the Travis Morgan stuff, and then you have this two-parter with Tempest, where he's like kidnapped, and that's it. I mean, the series ends basically with this volume ends with basically have the whole country that Aquaman took over not mentioned in this two issues. Nope, not really. You have Aquamarine with Mira, that Vanko's there, and you have Garth and his family there too, and that's how I kind of wrap up the run. I gotta admit, this was an excellent run for Aquaman. This whole run with Dan Jurgens was fantastic, and I'm giving these whole last 13 issues a 10 out of 10. Final thoughts on Aquaman Volume 5. Yes, I am finally here. The end of the volume. By the way, the last issue of this book was released in 2000. Just so the cover says January 2001. It was actually probably released in 2000. Probably like November 2000. So after like about 6 years publishing, the book ends. Though this book never had a bad issue. Because first you had Peter David, who did the first 47 issues and the first 4 out of 5 annuals. I gotta admit, he also did the Time and Tide miniseries, which is basically fills in the gap between Volume 4 and this one, which was really, really good. And then you had Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning have a very brief run the book. Their run is basically just you could think of basically 49 as like a continuation of Peter David run this way by different writers. As when Peter David left, I've never asked him that, why he left the book. And they're only there for like 2 issues plus issue 1 million. And they have Eric Larson. I initially thought Eric Larson did the whole remainder. I thought for the longest time that Eric Larson was the final writer of the book. I thought he did from 50 to 75, and that was it. Turns out I was wrong. He did only 13 issues. And then he left, and then you have Dan Jurgens to go with the book. Next time here, right, Aquaman, believe it or not, would actually be the first annual for Aquaman Volume 7. Which was a backdoor pilot into the Aquaman and the Others. Actually, I don't think you read that one. He did do Aquaman and the Others ongoing. He did that book. He did all 11 issues plus Future's End. And that was his brief return to Aquaman. He never wrote Aquaman, the main book, ever again after this. It's a shame because this book was fantastic. Yeah. So with that, Aquaman, the whole series is done. Technically, nothing left to go for him. I mean, the main book is done. It's just like one mini-series and like a one-shot. That's pretty much it for him. So, next up we have is the final 14 issues of Checkmate, Volume 1. And here's the kind of thing. I was talking to Paul Kupperberg on Twitter, to just say, where I was talking to him like I was going to review this, and he was shocked to hear that only a few issues from this whole run that he did are in trade, and that's 15-20. He's like, really? That's it? There's no proper trade for this run? Yeah, there isn't. He was shocked to hear that. Because you would think that maybe he might know, but no. He was shocked like I was. The fact that this was the guy who wrote this book. And, he apparently did not know that this run has never had proper trade. It never has. Volume 2 has had trades. 1 has had just the Jonas Directive collected. And by the way, a lot of the readers this run is basically pick up from the Jonas Directive. We have appearance here by Peacemaker in this book. He's here just to be part of Checkmate per se. Black Thorns in the book occasionally. We did, of course, where the character apparently died early on in the series, and then he comes back. Valentina, at one point, she gets a screen with Henry Stern, who gets suspended by Harry Bullock, and he gets chewed out for suspending her, despite the fact that she probably had good reason to be suspended. Yeah. And a lot of it's still continuing the really awesome missions that Checkmate goes on. And eventually, we reveal there's also a traitor in Checkmate, which I found that to be interesting. And eventually, like, the ending of this book is kind of weird, where I read this, I'm like, did Paul Kupperberg borrow an idea from Larry Hama's G.I. Joe? Where the villain organization thereafter, where they took over an island and they become an actual country. I'm like, yeah, this also happened in G.I. Joe American Hero or Marvel. I'm sure he took a similar idea, except he's actually recognized by several dictators. So he's ordered to pull it out, and by the end of the book, the organization is somewhat disbanded by the end of the series. Harry Bullock basically go back to Batman comics right after this. It's a shame. Like the book ended like this. And it was a 4-parter, known as basically about one night stuff. Yeah. But the organization itself was actually brought back in the pages of Deathstroke. And they've been occasionally around, and they were fully brought back in the mid-2000s, thanks to Greg Rucka, who wrote the first 25 issues of the book, which I own those issues. Excuse me, in trade. And those issues are really good. And he only did the first 25, and then he left. Yeah, the last 6 issues were done by him. Yeah, it's like, this Volume 2 is like almost the same like this volume, because this volume was 33 issues, compared to Volume 2, which was 31. And then we have another Checkmate book until very recently with Brian Michael Bendis. But yeah, Checkmate. Final Thought, Checkmate Volume 1. Excellent book. This book should have a trade paperback, but there isn't. And I don't know the reason for it. It's kind of weird. But I'm going to give Checkmate issues 19 through 33 a 10 out of 10. Sad to see his book go, but they move on from it. So, before I do Volume 2, which that would obviously be next, I'm going to do the Peacemaker mini-series, which came at the same time as this book. Which, that is interesting because that's what kind of happened with Suicide Squad, where they released a mini-series by the writer of the main book that the character popped up in, and have 4 mini-series to come back to it, that being Deadshot. This, of course, is basically going to be the Peacemaker. And that book was never collected in trade either. Even though it should be, because it's really good. Paul Kupperberg wrote a lot of really good books from DC. I never, if ever get a chance for any book by this guy, you can tell this guy clearly loves what he's doing. And it's a shame that he isn't getting a lot of stuff in trade. Like, here's what's in trade for him. His entire Doom Patrol stuff is all in trade in Omnibus. You have a Supergirl run in trade. You have 4 issues of this book. And I'm thinking I think he did like 1 issue of Action. I think it was like 598. Like, not a lot of the stuff from DC is in trade. I don't know the reason for it. It's just so baffling. For a guy who did a lot of really good writing for DC, and yet none of stuff's in trade for him. And it's a shame this book is not in trade. I really wish it was. If it was, I would buy it. Yes. Like, it's 33 issues. Like, you can have the first book like the first 14 issues. You can skip our Jonas Rick and say, if you want to read what happens next for this story, read Jonas Rick over Suicide Squad and come back to the book for the remainder of the series. That's what I would do. Yes. Do like 2 books and you're done. Yeah. Yeah, and Paul himself mentioned that the whole basis of this is trying to be different from like, and of course featuring the character Blackthorn. Think of this book as the best way to describe it is like a continuation of stuff that he set up during his Vigilante book, which I will be discussing in the future. But at the Pacemaker, it'll definitely be Volume 2 of Checkmate. After that, I'm going to be working on Just Side America, Volume 2. Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much it for particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do hit that like button. Basically, I'll see you all tomorrow for my reviews for Ultra 7, a comic corner or two, and for now, the last episode to air for now for all aspects of the Rise New Before goes on hiatus because of production stuff. Okay? See you tomorrow. Bye.